CNews. I'm Sweeney Gray. Today we're going to take another look at the fashion industry. So to help me on that conversation, I have the General Manager of FashionTT, Lisa Daniel Charles, to my immediate left. And then to her left, I have the Chairman of FashionTT, Jason Lindsay. Thank you and welcome for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So I just wanted to start with a really basic question, because I know FashionTT is one of the special interest groups that the government has created to focus on the creative industries. Obviously, y'all are focusing on fashion. Talk to me about what FashionTT is actually supposed to do.
Okay, well, I'll start off by saying what the mandate of FashionTT is. The mandate of FashionTT is essentially to stimulate the business development and the export activity of the Trinidad and Tobago fashion industry. That being, we are here to build the capacity of designers so that they'll be able to fulfill orders on a local level as well as on an international level. So what you found is that over the last year and coming up to the coming year, essentially we're going to have a series of programs, and we had a series of programs in terms of capacity building workshops. We had an inward buyer mission whereby we brought in buyers from the French Caribbean to attract exports. And what you'd find now is that this year we're launching our value chain investment program, which is a very comprehensive program, and it's the milestone program of the strategic plan, whereby there are several tiers by which designers on different levels will be mentored and trained. So this year we are mentoring and training those designers who are on the non-global level, which essentially means that you need help in-house with respect to tweaking your fashion value chain, and we'll be bringing in an international fashion consultant to come in and help those designers. So those designers have already been selected, and we hope to start that within January, February in 2017. And of course, we have the local production facility, which is another big one for us this year that we hope to launch within the third quarter of this fiscal, perhaps maybe within June or so, May, June. That's what we're doing, and we're hoping, that this facility, and it will help designers to be able to fulfill their orders in a more efficient manner locally as well as globally.
Because I know I've done one or two interviews with different designers, and they have all expressed a need for a production facility. This is difficult to get people to produce their clothing at a convenient and a regular basis, and that's one of the challenges. So I know there's been some. Talk to me about how you'll envision the garment production facility, how it's supposed to, set up and run.
Okay, so what I'll start it from the beginning. This is the first, I would say, government initiative with respect to launching such a facility. So what we did is we said, okay, let's put together a business model, a proper business plan that is orchestrated and properly prepared by someone who has the experience in operating facilities like this on a worldwide level. The consultant who was successfully selected is a gentleman named Raymond Wong.
Right.
He operates facilities in New York and in China, so he's well versed in this thing. The business model is currently right now being, it's currently in the consultation stage with stakeholders. Just 2 Fridays ago, we sat down with stakeholders and the various associations and sister stakeholder companies with respect to discussing the draft and what necessary inclusions or issues they have with the draft. So that's where we are right now. Really and truly, what we envision for this facility is that, we want to launch a facility this year. We want to have labor within the facility to support designers, whereby designers come in, pay for their labor, get their garments manufactured within a quick time frame so that they're able to fulfill orders in a timely manner, because right now that is the issue right now in terms of the fulfillment of orders and how long it takes.
So the management of the facility is not set in stone. You're still meeting with stakeholders.
Exactly. So that's where that's where I'm going to come to. You see, the purpose of this business model, and Jason is here to correct me. Purpose of this business model is to put together a firm foundation by which this facility will be run. Right. This facility is not going to be government owned after 3 years. The purpose of the business model is to make this facility a self-sustainable one.
Right.
You understand? So there are projections within the business model with respect to how it's going to run over the 3-year period, and by the end of the 3 years, it will show that this model will be self-sustainable. And after that, then we can look at different ownership structures. But at this point in time, let's put the foundation in place.
Right.
Let's put an efficient business model in place. It has never been done before. We don't have that now in Trinidad and Tobago. So let's put the structure in place for our stakeholders. Let's make sure that it runs efficiently and it funds itself efficiently. And then thereafter, let's look at in whose hands it goes to in terms of
I'm really
private
glad you
sector.
said that, because I know that was one of the criticisms that came to me after I actually got to interview Raymond about the facility, that there's a suggestion that it be an owner-owned and managed sort of facility.
Yeah, and I heard criticisms in terms of this is going to be a government-owned facility and a government-administered facility, but that is not what it speaks to in the business model. It speaks to that the government will launch it, put things in place to ensure that it's self-sustainable over a period of time, the incubation period, and then thereafter, it's going to go back into the hands of private.
Yeah.
Let me bring Jason into the conversation, because Lisa and I just started talking. And we were talking earlier about the chairmanship of FashionTT, and you said it was a bit stressful. How are you finding the stakeholder engagement?
Well, I mean, this is the first time that the government has ever looked at fashion as an industry which they can support, which they can sort of test the viability of and see what sort of, how they can use that as part of the greater creative industries to sort of diversify the economy. We've had a long history in fashion. That's no secret. I think the only difference now is that this is just trying to coordinate the industry in a way where we could sort of generate a lot more value out of it. Take some of the lessons of the designers that have done well and have become icons locally in the Caribbean, and then see how we can sort of create a model using that, incorporating the newer programs and newer designers to sort of show a blueprint for how we're going to go forward. When we first, how FashionTT came into being is originally the state had put together, through the Ministry of Trade at the time, a committee to really look at a strategic plan for the industry. And that was done, and that was done with led by some consultants with engagement of all the practitioners in the industry and the agencies and the other support groups. And it sort of turned the lights on in a lot of areas where we have deficiencies, why we have deficiencies, how the industry has changed, the impact of China, and the World Trade Organization making changes. So that sort of set the stage for how we to go forward. These initiatives, and the ones that Lisa mentioned, are now all that are coming out of that study.
Right.
So we are really actioning the plan. What it showed is that there are, and this would have been known in the community, is that we have both demand side and supply side deficiencies that allow us to be creative, but it doesn't really allow us to really get the true potential out of the industry as we could. And we've been trying to address some of those. So, for example, accessing markets was a big...
I was about to ask,
Yeah.
what were some of the other deficiencies?
It's both demand and supply. So access to markets on one side, and production was a big issue. Not so much, not just made in Trinidad and locally produced, but any design of any type, getting it produced anywhere in a way that is done with that Caribbean, or how the designers want it done. That is not something that has been accessible for the designers. Some designers are producing abroad and have the ability to get that done, but to a large extent, a lot of them don't have that. So really, that's what we're trying to do now, strengthen both sides. So they had some initiatives that we did last year where we try to find nearer shore production options that can produce in smaller quantities and that sort of have, that we could relate to in the Caribbean.
Right.
And those would have been within the wider Caribbean as well as in South America, like Colombia. Options we looked at was Colombia, Haiti, Central America.
So that we can use their production facilities to make stuff.
Correct. So we can do, and in more digestible quantities. Sometimes you go to the Far East and you have to produce in very large numbers.
Yeah, which would make sense for Caribbean designers who are catering for Caribbean markets.
Exactly.
Right.
And on the demand side, again, is access to market. So even if we're to produce? I mean, who do we sell to? How do we go through fulfilling orders? I mean, there's a whole pipeline of areas that we need to support our designers in terms of being able to access the markets. There's over and above sending them to a fashion show in New York or something else like that.
Yeah, because I actually was talking to a designer on Saturday because I got to attend the Afrofunk fashion show. Really, really lovely pieces. Amazing presentation. But I was talking to another designer who said she was invited to show at Paris Fashion Week and she had to decline. And she's like, I'm not stupid. I know I can't, even if you all love this stuff, because they kept begging her. I can't supply. I don't have a production facility that can. So it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You know, so
and that's what we try to do. We're trying to, I mean, on one hand, you can't put all the supply elements in place and just, you know, put a huge investment in and only after wait to serve, because people need to do business now. So we've been trying, you know, with the guidance of the plan, to develop both hand in hand. So Lisa mentioned the value chain, both global and non-global, is to help us access and supply the local and the regional markets at the same time as we develop our capacity for more global markets.
Because it's very export focused. That's in reality that's the focus of FashionTT. It's not just about developing the industry for internal consumers, but we're looking at making enough clothes to export to the Caribbean primarily, and then wider. Like when you say export, what markets are you all thinking of? You think that will have interest in Caribbean fashion?
Regional and international. I mean, I think that you know, as part of the mandate of trade, it is really, at its core, I think, is really to generate trade, generate economic activity, revenue. You know, that could happen local and internationally.
But what international markets do you think, like your research is telling you, are attuned to Caribbean designers, you're thinking?
I think that what the plan identifies first and foremost is what it is, what are we selling, what it is that we have to offer the world that is unique.
Aesthetic?
So before we decide who we selling to, let's try to figure out what are we selling or what do we say about what we sell. So that I think that is one of the milestones in the plan, and is I think the general direction is that we are selling a brand, a Caribbean brand. You know what I mean, with the colors, with the flavors, everything that immediately when you think of the Caribbean, to anybody in the world, you know, there's a certain sense of imagery that comes to you, that comes to mind, and it comes out in what we wear and how we speak and what we do, and that's what we sell, and just articulated in apparel and fashion, that sort of thing, and that's what we had to define. That's how we had to be clear in our heads. Once we are now the fashion, because we explored a number of options of what we're selling. So, for example, Trinidadian fashion, for example, is not something that somebody, let's say in Estonia, may be able to immediately identify, but Caribbean they can. So that's the first part of it. Now once we identify that, then we look at the markets. We have the regional markets where a lot more functionality would apply in terms of the consumption. We have the diaspora markets where the, you know, who missing home and who wants to connect would apply.
So you get to wear a little bit of your something from home out in public.
A very big market. And then ideally where we ultimately want to go, and where is area that, you know, in some extent has been neglected in the past, are those international markets who are very exotic too. You know, some of the cooler climates, some of the climates and some of the regions that we are completely alien to, we become exotic. So each of those has a different strategy. And the approach is that as the designers go out there and access those markets is done very differently. But before we even get to that stage, we have to, as you were just saying with the Afrofunk experience and the Paris experience, there's so much that needs to be put in place. It would almost be putting our designers in large extent at disadvantage, just putting them in front of those, exactly as you said.
Well, I know our designers are extremely creative. Because, you know, you could just spend hours just looking at local fashion. I mean, Charlotte Das just had her fashion show on Sunday, and some of those pieces are really stunning and amazing. I was fake complaining to a friend that it's going to be very difficult to try and save, you know, with the amount of fabulous things that I absolutely need to put in my wardrobe, right? But they're creative, but are they good at business? Is business one of building business capacity of the individual designers one of the concerns of FashionTT?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that again, remember, this is a mandate, as Lisa mentioned, that is under trade. It's not under culture. You know, it's not under tourism. It's under trade. The underlying, the core of it is to facilitate trade, to facilitate economic activity, to diversify the economy. So that's an essential part of it. The steps that we took thus far is understanding the industry locally, regionally, understanding what we need to be able to trade internationally. But yes, I mean, that's the core part of it, training designers. And not just that, because you remember now the UTT, Caribbean Academy of Fashion Design, they don't only focus on design, they focus on fashion management.
Business
and
of fashion.
Yeah, correct. We just have to find a way now to take those graduates, and I know some of them already doing it, and, you know, getting them involved and getting them.
Isn't that what the Value Chain Investor Program does?
Exactly. So the Value Chain Investment Program is about the business of fashion. Essentially, FashionTT's whole mandate is essentially the business of fashion, ensuring that designers have the capacity in order to run their business efficiently to fulfill orders locally and export. That's really and truly the whole cornerstone of our strategic plan and what we're doing. You know, we have institutions like UTT and YTEP that deal with design, but FashionTT is finding an avenue and looking at avenues by which to train our designers and ensure that they're able to run their business. You know,
that's excellent. I know. I want to just go back to the production facility really side, because yeah, clearly you're seeing the stakeholder involvement, because when I spoke to him about 2 months ago, he was talking about launching it in April, and I was like, that's kind of quick, you know. But I guess you'll have one of the things that one of the challenges we always deal with in Trinidad is that we have big plans, but we don't always put them in place. So I guess you're under a lot of pressure to implement some of these things as soon as possible, so that people can see what you're planning to do and maybe see how it works. Is that a challenge? Yeah,
well, I mean, you guys mentioned it earlier, is that when you ask, you know, when we still establishing to some extent that relationship with the stakeholders who have been here long before us, you know, quite frankly. So, I mean, it takes a lot of time to get the stakeholders on board, you know, convince them that, you know, we're taking steps to incorporate everybody to do it in the right way. So we have to move. We have to move, because you don't ever want to lose your clients. You know, so the fashion practitioners are our clients. So we cannot put plans in place to implement in 2 years' time, because, I mean, some designers are experienced, but there are others who will not survive for 2-3 years. So we have to move very fast. Now, the production facility is more connected with the local and regional orders. And I mean, the idea is that it will give those designers a chance. I mean, even when Christmas season comes around, you know, some of these smaller, unique designers struggle to fulfill very small orders, you know, because they may not be as established. You don't have 2 or 3 people working for them. They're under significant pressure. So for very small numbers, but it's 10 different people with very small orders. So the garment facility will help with some of that. That's not its primary purpose, of course. The primary purpose is more towards consistency of production. It is also meant to, so our, when talking about a strategic plan, the area that we're focusing on in terms of our value proposition is the creativity, is the design. It's not the production. You know what I mean? Yeah. Where I mean, we say it when you hear people say.
I was thinking creativity, we're fine.
Well,
creative wise, like we're fine.
No, but we're very good. We're not just fine. We're very good.
What we're missing is sustainability and quality control and mass production.
Correct. But in terms of what we have to sell the world, it is our creativity. You know what I mean? We're not selling here garments like, for example, the Italians. You know, are known for their production, perhaps. We're not going in to compete.
We can't.
Exactly. We can't compete in mass in China. So what we have what is our value proposition is our design.
Yeah.
Right? That is what we focus on. That's what we sell in the world. But we have to produce it. You know, we have to understand, not just produce it, understand how it's produced, have
But
designers
then we have to focus
experience
a lot on branding and public relations, like get people to understand there is a Caribbean aesthetic, so we have to be able to explain it and promote it and make that of value. So it's like, you know, Swiss watches are supposed to be the best watches in the world, and French wine. And even sometimes you're tasting French wine and you have this great expectation that it's going to be the best wine you've ever tasted in your life. And, you know, that alone can make you buy in. We need to do something similar for
the creativity.
Right.
But we, you know, so when I say that to say that the production is, because we always focus on the creativity, we almost don't focus on the production side of it.
Yeah.
So what the facility is supposed to generate, those help us with our consistency, our standards, our timeliness. It puts the systems in place to allow us to do those things that typically we're not known for doing well. You know what I mean? There's no question on the creativity. Now, you know, when I get the shirt or you get that dress, you have to know you can go back next year and get the same dress and the same size.
Yeah.
So it sort of puts some structure in that which is missing, and to serve, you know, by extension, the local and the regional markets and help the designers just, you know, do what they do best.
Obviously, some of the stakeholders that, I mean, when I think FashionTT, I and all have a bias and keep talking about designers, but clearly if you're doing a production facility, you have to be talking about the technicians as well, the cutters and the sewers, and that. What have they been telling you they want for the facility? You know, what kind of feedback have they been giving you when you're doing your stakeholder engagement?
Well, I mean, Lisa and we at the stakeholder, just something that I wanted to mention, for this is not a FashionTT project.
Okay.
Right? This is a project with FashionTT in partnership with UTT, as well as YTEP,
right.
ECCL. So you have those agencies that come together to partner doing this project.
Okay.
On the other side, you also have what would be representative bodies like FAT, Fashion Association.
Right.
You have
Which
FET.
is the funniest acronym for a fashion association ever.
And I'm the chair of FAT. I make that joke all the time, but yeah, it is. So we also have FET, which is the Fashion Entrepreneurs of Trinidad and Tobago. We have a lot of stakeholder and other smaller stakeholder groups that represent maybe a wider membership or parts of the industry. So we rarely, of the 4 partners executing the project, there was a wider steering committee that sort of put things in place. So, I mean, for something like this, you cannot engage every single stakeholder.
No.
You know what I mean? So we try to get the representative bodies, create a steering committee, and they're the ones that guided us in terms of, so even though we have a consultant, they're the ones that guided us in, okay, what the fashion designers you think they will require, what their outlook will be. FET represents a lot of the producers and the seamstresses and whatnot. So they have an idea and a context of what may be relevant. Some of the designers actually do both, so they have people producing so they could guide it. So really the steering committee, I mean, the idea provokes it. Everybody needs to provoke it at that level and steers it, led by, of course, the consultant and the agencies that come together. So no doubt there'll be deficiencies, but that's why you have like a YTEP involved. That's why you have UTT. And UTT, they're both on the business development side as well as the Caribbean Academy of Fashion Design.
Yeah.
ECCL, which is Export Centers.
Export Centers Company Limited.
Company Limited. They have facilities throughout the country that we use, and we're actually looking at those facilities options.
So really, really quickly, because we have to wrap, because the conversation just goes on. Who are you wearing?
Who am I wearing?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm wearing a batik shirt by Tina Designs.
And you are?
I'm wearing a kite dress from Mailing.
Which goes to show how much faith you all have in the local fashion industry. So
we
it's really
love our
lovely
local designers.
to see that. So thank you so much, Lisa and Jason, for joining us.
Sure.
That's it for Conversations with CNews. I'm Sonia Gray. See us next time.